contain your excitement when you get something you've really wanted. Like the gold standard in automotive protection, WeatherTech floor liners. With deep sculpted channels and laser measured for total protection in the front, back, and even up the sides.
Dad, you're going viral.
What? WeatherTech me.
So don't be shy, enjoy. Order your premium American-made products at WeatherTech.com.
Experience the ultimate thrill, Porsche GT Track Day, where passion meets performance on some of North America's most legendary racetracks. Designed exclusively for Porsche owners, this is your chance to unleash the full potential of your vehicle in a motorsport environment. Drive the same circuits as professional racers, on the same weekend as Porsche Sprint Challenge events. Where will your Porsche take you? With limited space, every Porsche GT Track Day ensures a premium, exclusive experience. You'll get nearly 3 hours of track time, starting with reconnaissance laps, progressing through lead-follow sessions, and culminating in exhilarating open laps. Plus, strap in for heart-pounding hot laps with a professional race driver.
I thought I was fast. Didn't resemble anything that I've ever done.
Beyond the track, immerse yourself in VIP hospitality, premium viewing areas, and exclusive paddock access where you can witness Porsche Sprint Challenge teams in action. Spots are limited. Scan the QR code now to reserve your place at Porsche GT Track Day.
We're here in fantastic Austin, Texas. And Joey, when they say everything is bigger in Texas, they really mean it.
Absolutely they do, including this racetrack, FIA Grade 1 facility known as the Circuit of the Americas.
And today, it's going to be the Porsche Sprint Challenge USA West Series tackling it, so let's see how they do. We've got Scott Blend of Ruckus Racing. Scott, you've started to earn the nickname of the Iron Man. You did every race of the weekend back at Sonoma, and you're doing it again here at Circuit of the Americas. What pushes you to try that?
You know, I just want to maximize this track time. You know, I'm here, I might as well do it. I've got the energy to do it, so you know, it just and every time I do, I just get a little better every session. You know, so that's the goal. Is just to keep improving.
I know there's the obvious difficulties that come with it, but what are some of the other things that you have to be concerned with when trying that over a weekend?
So, of course, this weekend the heat is brutal, but when it's hard on the team, to get the cars ready, and it's always back to back on the cars and qualifying, and so you have to have kind of two separate crews, running each car. So that, I think, it's the timing and just everybody being in sync and everybody being ready when it's time to go.
Is there anything this weekend that you found out from doing it at Sonoma that you think will help you?
Yeah, I think we've learned a lot out on track with the pit strategies, and I think you all know we fall back early, but at the end things seem to be working out well, and we're there at the end and fighting for that podium. So yeah, just a little bit of track. We're going to miss Mike Johnson this weekend. He's not here. He's really good on the box. But no, it's just we get a little better each time with our timing, with our prep, with our execution, and I think that's what we were learning is how to improve on that.
Well, best of luck. Drink lots of fluids,
yes,
and hopefully we'll see you on the track.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
We got a stunner for race one, so can the drivers live up to the action and set the bar even higher? Let's find out as we get ready for the Porsche Sprint Challenge USA West Series. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and joining me later will be TDI Cup alumni Joey Atterbury, along with Carrera Cup North America driver Ashley Freiberg. We're here in Circuit of the Americas, as we mentioned, a 20-turn circuit, as Joey said, FIA Grade 1, so that can handle everything from Formula One down to SCCA. But today, it is going to be USAC with the Porsche Sprint Challenge, returning here once again. Definitely watch out for Turn 1. Big Red can see some accidents up into there as drivers get a little overambitious at the start of the race. Turn 11, going to be one of the key parts. Getting an exit off of that turn onto the long back straight where one of your best passing zones is into turn 12. And of course the stadium section with turn 15, often seeing drivers taking different lines and offering a chance to snooker somebody into losing their spot. And of course finally turn 20, another critical exit zone onto the main straight to bring you back around to finish the lap. We've got our cars already gridded up. Some of these drivers having been out there quite a bit. We've already mentioned Scott Blend in that interview talking about how he is racing every race this weekend that he is able to in that 992 Cup car. Looks like they're just about to send them off on this one, so let's go through the starting grid. Scott Blend with another pole position up at the top with Brandon Hankins starting next to him. They will be in different classes, of course. Jim Walsh going to be starting from a third spot as Daniel Hanley will kick things off in P4. Daniel having a great battle in race number 1. Mark Wilgus was a part of that tussle. He'll start from P5 today as Joel Johnson will be to his outside starting from 6 for Speed Sport tuning. Then into row 4, Mark Krigler will be starting in that P7 spot. You've got Francisco de Jesus, who's also doing both the North America and the West races, starting from 8th position here today in Top Racing. And then from there, we get to row 5, and the last of our Cup cars is going to be John Snyder for Fall Line Motorsports. We, of course, have mixed class in this one, not just for Masters and for Pro-Am. You've got the Caymans with Tom Rogers on the pole. Tim Smith going to be starting next to him. And then from there, row 2 sees Gary Buffkin starting in 3rd. Greg Herback coming from 4th. Can he get himself another podium from starting outside those podium positions for Tatum Racing? Row 3 has Henry Marshall. And then our lone Pro-Am in the Cayman is going to be Manny Tartaglione starting in the 6th spot. After that, David Bradshaw at the back of the Cayman field of 7 cars. 16 total going to be taking to the circuit here for this race. And as we said earlier, this was one of the best races of the weekend so far that we saw here in the USA West crowd. So will we get another bit of awesome competition for the win? And that was both in the Pro-Am and the Masters class that we saw them fighting for the victory all the way to the end of the race. As they weave the cars to get ready, we're getting a little bit of cloud cover, it looks like, as maybe things just slightly cooler at some portions of the track. And that is definitely something that the drivers will be wanting, as one of the talking points has been the heat all weekend. It is 93 Fahrenheit. I think it's cooled down maybe about 2 degrees since earlier in this afternoon. 120 Fahrenheit, also cooling a little bit on the track surface itself at this stage, but still weaving to try to get those tires up to temperature. Definitely a couple drivers that have some unfinished business in this one, Joey, after some incidents in race 1.
Yeah, we saw a little bit of, call it extracurricular activity out there on the racetrack, and a couple of some lazy spins in some of the slower areas of this racetrack. And remember, we've seen these GT3 Cup cars. They are so gosh dang fast around this place. You really have to kind of manage those grip levels from the Yokohama tires. Be careful not to overload the front, not to get too happy with that accelerator coming out, and the car will act perfect for you.
35 minutes plus 1 lap, as we do for all the Porsche Sprint Challenge races, but you still have to manage those tires until the end. So, as they continue to get ready, we should start to see them line up 2 by 2 to head to the start-finish line to kick this one off. This is the last race of the weekend for the USA West Series as well. We will have the North America 992 Cup Series tomorrow morning. But other than that, it's just the endurance challenge that the drivers have to try and prove themselves at this legendary track. There goes the safety car. They give control over to Scott Blend on the front row. What is going to be happening as we come down into turn 1? Will it be nice and clean, or will tempers rise after we had some drama at the end of race 1? It's a long wait for this call for the green, typically here coming down to turn 1. We wait patiently to hear those engines start to rise, and there it is. Green flag is out as we fly towards Big Red, and it is a good jump there for Scott Blend coming into the first corner. Big move on the inside there for Jim Walsh. He does not want to lose touch with Blend, who he's going to be racing for that lead in the Masters, but he loses out, Joey.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think he's slipping all the way back to what is 4th place position right now, and I think I saw on that Cayman start, Tim Smith was able to take advantage and leapfrog over Tom Rogers, but now Tom makes an aggressive move back into the S's to regain the lead.
Single file now between them as we watch them try to sort themselves out up to this point. We were talking to Ashley about how some of the drivers definitely had to do some repairs, so hopefully everything is really back in good working condition here.
Yeah, having 2 races in one day can definitely put a lot of strain on the teams, making sure they get their repairs done quickly, and it is still very hot outside as well, and the team also has to endure that as well. So don't forget, this is a team sport. The crew is very, very much a part of this whole program.
Noticing that it looks like Tom Rogers may have actually gotten ahead of Mark Crickler there and put one of the Cup cars between himself and his Cayman competitors. So that's going to be interesting, although I'm sure he'll get that spot back rather quickly. A look around the outside. This is for second overall Johnson and Hanley, and I think Johnson's going to take it away.
Yeah, that was a really nice move right there, and turn number 12 kind of forced the issue on the outside, was able to carry the momentum, and now that car is up into second place right there. A little bit of an accordion effect as we enter turn number 15. Then, of course, it's all about putting that power down and letting the car just really roam free through this triple apex right-hander. If you tell it to do too much, it doesn't like it.
And apologies, I think that's Wilgus that he managed to get by there. Johnson still back behind Walsh at this moment. Walsh continuing to lose sight of Scott Blend up in front of him, still seeking that first win here in the USA West Series as they exit out of the final corner. Daniel Hanley now going to be leading in the Pro-Am category.
Yeah, looks like on our ticker it is Blend, Hanley, Walsh, our top 3 in terms of our overall running order. This is our leader in that Ruckus Racing machine, the bright yellow number 245, able to navigate up and over turn number 1, and he continues to extend that gap. It really is call it a 5-car fight here for second.
And imagine if Wilgus is able to carry this fight on. I mean, we already got a little bit of a repeat of what we saw before, but that was a much shorter fight than Wilgus and Hanley had.
Yeah, and I think just some timing and scoring issues going on right now, trying to figure out exactly which cars are in what positions as we watch them go around the racetrack here. Definitely know that Scott Blend is still up front, as well as everything getting really busy up through this turn 8 and 9 section now.
You're right. That is showing that it's Hankins now, and it is swapping around. So we'll try and get a visual read here pretty shortly if we can take a look, and that will help solidify who is where. There's the 250 of Wilgus behind Walsh. So he is sitting 5th overall, 3rd in his class in the silver and yellow machine. That is Joel Johnson, though. Good bit of pace here from Johnson. Maybe able to challenge Walsh if he can sneak by Mark.
See about this drafting down the back straightaway here. You see those 2 silver cars. One of them's making a deep move into turn number 12 here. Nicely executed. Was able to get the car woed up at apex and actually keep it on the racetrack at corner exit right there, which isn't always the easiest thing to do when you're making that deep threshold brake pass.
That pass has allowed each driver to now start to race within their own class. So Walsh is now up ahead Johnson there, who was pretty aggressive at the start, so we'll see if he tries to make a move on Walsh. And Wilgus is now behind Hankins and Hanley, who are all in the Pro-Am class.
Looks like Krigler just got a spot from DeJesus as well for 7th out of all the Cup cars. Another one that's not for class within those 992s. But yeah, this is probably important for Wilgus because he's looking up ahead to Hankins and Hanley up there to try and decide the win in the 992 Pro-Ams. Walsh in that 269 machine had certainly an eventful end to last race.
Yeah, so that's the 250 of Wilgus there in the silver and green. Of course, the 269 of Jim Walsh there, kind of more the silver, blue, and green. Very similar painted color cars out there, but slightly different with that third color. And then, of course, Joel Johnson back there sitting in that number 217 as we now ride on board the number 250 car of Wilgus. Coming into this S section, let's see how aggressive he is up over the curbs. Very aggressive over the first 3 curbs. Let's see if he lets it drift out wide. A little bit of dab of the brakes there to just help manage the weight where he needs it. Usually a little bit more over the front end helps the car turn. And then, of course, you roll on the throttle as soon as possible.
Yeah, we got a good visual there from on board on how much he needs to catch up to Hankins. Now, Hankins led most of the Pro-Am race back in race number 1 this weekend. So can he manage to catch up to Hanley now and maybe make a race of that? Hanley, of course, has passed him in the course of this race early on, but that doesn't necessarily mean he couldn't be run back down. We've already seen a change in pace, Ashley, over the course of many of these races, depending on how drivers treat their tires.
Yeah, Hanley's doing a great job and also maintaining a nice gap from Scott Blend. Scott has shown to be incredibly quick. He's won both races this morning. He's going for his 3rd win this afternoon. So he's also a competitor in Carrera Cup, and he's super fast there as well. So it's nice to see Daniel picking up pace and maintaining a nice gap from him.
Yeah, we didn't get to see Blend win every race that he was in back at Sonoma, but he came close. And I believe he was on the podium for all of them, so definitely had a lot of champagne collected by the time he was done out in California. We'll see if he can have that top step each and every time he enters a race this weekend, as these 3 stay nose to tail coming around the final corner once again. Walsh now leading Johnson for that 2nd place. Is Johnson going to be able to sneak by?
It's all just trying to force the mistake out of your competitor if you're not quite close enough. Maybe a little bit of a feint to the inside to try to take their eyes off of that brake marker and into their mirrors. But with how close the temperatures and how hot everything has been out here, it is a difficult ask for these drivers.
And the track temperature is actually dropping relatively quickly. Just about an hour ago it was 125. I think it's now down to 118 Fahrenheit. So the sun dipping down in the sky is really allowing a lot of that heat to dissipate, which could be a big deal come the end. Blend, in the meantime, not only setting fastest lap of the race last time by, he's gone purple in the first sector. He's just basically picking up where he left off.
And I think we see the 217 right here of Joel Johnson really start to apply that pressure to the back end of Jim Walsh's. The 295 here, this is Brandon Hankins rolling through turn number 11. That's a good shot right there, actually. You get to see some of the elevation that's actually here on the back straightaway, Ashley.
Yeah, there's quite a bit of elevation on this track, and it definitely affects the handling of the car depending on where it's located in each corner. So heading down into turn 12, there is actually a bit of a downhill once you get closer to that apex. So you have to make sure you're coming off the brake pedal when you turn in here so that you can keep those front tires underneath you.
And looking at the racing in the Caymans, because I know we haven't checked in on them in a while, does look like Herback is trying to challenge Smith for that second position, but they're about a second apart at the moment. Still, Greg has been showing great pace this weekend, just can't seem to get up to Tom Rogers, though, as we got a car very wide coming through the latter part of the triple apexer.
I think that might have been Johnson just a little bit wide there at the first half of things, but was able to kind of gather it up. And since you had mentioned the Cayman drivers, I was able to speak very quickly with Tim Smith over at lunch, and didn't end the race how he wanted to a little bit earlier today. So I think him sitting in second place right now, another little bit of a redemption comeback for him.
No doubt. Ooh, this is for second overall. I mentioned Hankins could maybe pick the pace back up and try and challenge Handley. He seems to think so as well. Handley on the defense now, trying to keep the Pro-Am lead in his hands.
We'll see about the run through turn number 2 here. See if he can keep the pressure on Daniel Handley. Sometimes that's all you need to do. I mentioned just move their eyes off of the racetrack and maybe onto the mirror. Get their focus shifted just that little bit. Maybe they'll start to make a small mistake and you can close it in that little bit.
Handley coming away with a second place last race. So finished on the podium. I'm sure he'd like to be one step higher if possible, but Hankins going to try and challenge him for that. Hankins, unfortunately, was the one that was probably the most disappointed. A DNF at the end of last race.
Had a little bit of some contact towards the end of the race, you're right, and unfortunately did not finish that one. So a couple of these drivers looking to right some wrongs from earlier today, and that's exactly what you need to do. If you make a mistake a little bit earlier on in the weekend, well, guess what? Usually you have time to kind of rectify that and make it good. That's what all these drivers are trying to do, is leave COTA on a positive note.
So for some of them, it will be leaving COTA after this. Of course, like we said, second race of the weekend for the USA West. So if they're not taking part in the Endurance Challenge tomorrow afternoon, then team can pack up and head on home from here. So really, last chance to try and show what you got out on the track. Still very close between Handley and Hankins as we watched them come around turn 15 there. There they are coming now through 16, 17, and into 18. A drop downhill through this portion of the lap before it gives one last rise and then dips again through 19.
If I'm seeing kind of a shift in the momentum, it's actually coming from Wilgus right now. He is going very, very fast, and with these two battling it out, these black and red cars of Handley and Hankins, that's just allowing Wilgus to continue to close it in, and here comes another potential move into turn number 1.
Yeah, this helps Mark big time here. If he could get them battling, and it looks like he'll get his wish. They're going to be side by side, a cutback underneath to try and take the spot away. A nice little move. Now it's a drag race, but it's going to be the outside for Handley. I'm not sure if he'll, for Hankins rather, I'm not sure if he'll be able to hold on to it coming down, and no, he has to give way. Nice defense from Handley.
Yeah, it's super tough to make a pass work when you're side by side through turn 2. Usually the inside driver will have the better line there. There's just more grip. There's not as many marbles on the inside line.
Well, you mentioned it, Joey. Look at how much closer Wilgus is now. And in fact, he's going to get even more. Well, that's him, actually. He is there. He tried to make a move on Hankins.
And that was the area of the racetrack where we saw him kind of experimenting a little bit in comparison to his competitors earlier in the day. I think he actually found something nice on the little piece of racetrack. All these drivers are trying to take advantage around the apex, but he has been one of the drivers to kind of stick on the racing line, and here he is with an opportunity down the back straight. He's going to sit in the slipstream, try to close it in that little bit, maybe make a lunge into 12.
It almost seems like he was a little bit surprised to see Wilgus there. He was a little wide in turn 11 there, so focused on the battle with Daniel that he didn't realize that Wilgus is fully ready to pounce on this opportunity.
Oh, he's pounced. He's there. He's got the inside down through turn 13, and there you go. He has got the spot. So that's P2 now from Mark Wilgus. Can he also chase down Hanley?
I love modern GT car racing. With these GT3 Cup cars, if one car or if one driver makes a mistake, you better be ready because there is another one waiting in that rearview mirror trying to make a move. If you get shuffled off the racing line and you're on the back foot, you really got to be careful because every single gap is going to be getting filled. You got to get the momentum going again.
Yeah, that was a great job by Wilgus, making the most of that opportunity. He saw that those two drivers were battling and put himself in the position to take advantage of it. So really nice job.
Crossing the line, the gap between Hanley and Wilgus is about 1.1 seconds. Keep an eye on that. It's 7 seconds up the leader. In the meantime, now that they've finished their battle, Jim says, okay, I think I'd like a little bit more separation because I'm still dealing with Johnson behind me. And as he tries to race with the Pro-Am driver, I think he actually might have it. Nice move from Jim Walsh.
Seemed like Jim was able to get the drive down the hill that he needed. And Joe, you're right. It's not often that you can kind of make the move around the outside of turn 2 work, but he was far enough along the outside and pretty much next to his competitor that he kind of boxed him in there. Couldn't really wash out to the outside of the racetrack. So excellent move from Jim.
Really good job. You can see Johnson does not want to let that rest. He's already also trying to catch up with Hankins. Not sure what's going on with Brannon because he seems so quick in race 1, and now suddenly the car seems to just be having all sorts of problems partway through this race.
Sometimes it's the driver trying to figure it back out, and sometimes it's just the heat and the car not cooperating. Sometimes you just miss a brake marker and you don't really get the corner that you want. There's a lot going on when it's 97 degrees ambient temperature here in Texas.
Coming down into the braking, he gets close to the back of Walsh. Again, they can race as much as they want. There just won't be any points difference depending on who finishes in front of who, but it does offer a strategic element. There was a little bobble on the exit from Brannon.
Also want to point out that Wilgus just ran purple in Sector 2, so he is on a mission to try to catch Daniel here. Daniel, I'm sure, was happy to see all of the battling going on behind him. However, Wilgus is not going to let it be easy.
0.4 of a second. It was 1.1 when they crossed the start-finish line. They're not even back to that finish line yet. So you're right. Mark Wilgus is clearly very quick here at this stage of the race. 19 minutes plus a lap to go. He is now within a car length.
He's really able to drive off of turn number 20, and he sets his personal fastest lap of the race at 2:12.8. You compare that to Hanley directly in front of him. That was a 2:13.4. So Wilgus fully on the attack, and now you see in turn number 1, he's closed that gap even more. Now it's only about half a car length between the two of them at the apex. Of course, that accordion effect starts to stretch it out in the acceleration phase, but Wilgus definitely lighten it up.
Down through the S's once again. As behind Johnson, we could see Walsh. We can see that Hankins is still close behind him, but acts as a buffer between Jim and Joel Johnson. As we head up through turn 8, just kind of climbing up the hill here towards 9, trying to find that apex as the track disappears in front of you, and then finally comes back into view as you come back down the hill into turn 11. Who gets the launch off of this run onto the back straight?
Let's watch all 5 of these cars, see if we can pick out one of them that had a little bit of a better run. And if anything, it may be Hankins on the back of Walsh, but I just don't see it close enough to make a huge lunge down into turn number 12. So I don't think it's going to happen this lap. You just got to focus on your own brake marker, maybe be able to close it in a little bit more. You see the 2 cars directly in front as well, pretty much even on their pace. We'll see if Wilgus can start to apply just a little bit more pressure. Remember, Hanley was able to hold off all of the pressure from Hankins, had a lot of cars shuffled their positions behind, and now he's being a firm rock out there up front.
We've been having so much fun watching this, we failed to notice that her back has gotten by Smith. So that is Greg up into P2, and Smith getting demoted back down into third. They're still behind Rogers. Is that right? 11 seconds? My goodness, it is.
That's what I see as well. And, you know, Tom Rogers in that Cayman GT4, the number 44 car out there. He has been very successful earlier in the today, already collected that first win of the West Series race, and he's looking to make it back-to-back.
Whew, just been incredibly fast at this track in that number 44 car. He's going to hope that we don't get a late race caution like we saw in race 1, because he does not want to lose that lead that he has built up. Wilgus is now there on Hanley and just filling his mirrors as they plunge down into turn 2. We're going to hop on board with the 250.
Let's watch these throttle and brake inputs. Just a little bit of, call it brake management to put the weight on the wheels that you need on the front axle or on the rear axle. Then, of course, using that throttle to also steer the car through these corners one after another. You see probably down into second gear as they come up and over the hill, accelerate up into third, into fourth, and head down the hill.
I suppose that was the only nice thing about that sequence of corners I was kind of watching. It was all third gear all throughout, so all just those throttle and steering inputs, not having to change them coming through that sector as we work our way down the back stretch. That was a great exit by Daniel. He'll keep Mark Wilgus at least an arm's length away.
I'm seeing quite a bit of purple on timing and scoring right now. Scott Blend just set the overall fastest lap time, a 2:12.1. And then also down in that Cayman category, remember you had just mentioned that Greg Herback had gotten around Tim Smith at some point. He actually just went purple, a 2:19.7. Joe, that's 2 seconds faster than our leader.
Yeah, that's way, way faster. So Greg must have been held up something fierce. That or Tom is absolutely managing his pace in this race at this phase. Someone's going to have to get on the radio, tell him to hustle if he can go quicker than that to try to prevent Greg from running him down. Because, yes, it's 10 seconds, but 2 seconds a lap is going to give him plenty of time to catch him and then go on the attack. But we're still watching the battle for the lead in the Pro-Ams here in the 992 Cup. Wilgus versus Hanley. Wilgus is in the silver and green cars. We got one of our Caymans down on pit lane. Didn't see who that was. Bradshaw, it looks like it might be.
Yeah, it's one of the blue cars, and you're right, it's the number 71 with that pit sign out on that timing and scoring ticker. So unfortunately, that number 71 maybe has an issue, or maybe the team spotted something, called the driver in. And of course, remember Bradshaw was involved in that incident earlier today as well.
It was kind of neat having Daniel Hanley actually come up to us after the first race and say he appreciated the compliments that we were giving. He actually, it seemed he was very humble about everything, but man, you're leading the race right now, bud. Yeah, you're on the back foot trying to defend, but he is showing that he's a real strong driver in this USA West Series.
I mean, we just call the action, right? They're the ones who make the action. So, yeah, Hanley has been doing a very impressive job today. He continues that through this race here in the afternoon. The Texas heat always bearing down inside of these race cars into the triple digits. So not only is he handling the pressure from his competitors, he's able to manage the heat as well.
I think it must just be the Colorado in him. That was one thing I noticed because I used to live in the town he hails from, Fort Collins. Everybody's very, very nice there. So maybe he needs to get some of that aggression coming here. He will soon because, he tries to defend, but he breaks too deep. He does use the exit to great effect to keep Wilgus from being able to get ahead of him. And now that's going to back them up into the fight for position. Well, no, that's Walsh and Hankins. So Hankins will be one of our Pro-Am drivers, but Walsh, we've seen, really doesn't like to be held up by these other classes.
I don't know if you caught that, Ashley, but Hanley had a big old slide through what was, call it 13 and 14 there. You got to be really careful through that slow speed stuff.
I'm sure he's feeling the pressure right now, but I mean, he did a good job maintaining his lead through that section. It looked like when he went to the inside to defend, there's just not as much grip when you go offline. There's a lot of marbles. The track is a little dirtier, so he might have just misjudged that a little bit. However, the fact that he was able to maintain his lead is really, really good, and I'm sure he's just feeling that pressure a bit. It's hot, it's greasy. He's just got to keep focusing forward.
Yeah, we've had 2 retirements so far. We mentioned Bradshaw in pit lane. Tartaglione, unfortunately, also out of this race. We don't have word on the reasoning why for that yet, though. But if it is the heat, I mean, I don't think they need to feel too bad about that one, because it is just absolutely punishing, and some of these racers have been out on that track for quite a bit at this point. This is the leader, Tom Rogers, and that gap has come down to about 9.3 seconds. The last lap was another 0.6 cut off by Herbeck.
It's very impressive what that 49 has done. Definitely cutting into that lead. It was about 12 seconds. Now it's about 9.3 seconds. And you got to wonder, how much is the team on the radio to Tom Rogers saying, you know, you got a 9-second gap. Take care of your equipment. Let's just make it through this one. You've only got, call it 11 and a half minutes remaining. You can manage this race. You don't necessarily have to go out there and push at 100%. Sometimes it's about being smart that will get you the checkered flag.
Yeah, to kind of add to that, I did see on lap 7 he had a track violations warning, so I'm sure his team radioed to him, hey, no need to push super hard, just maintain your gap.
Last time across a 220.2, 220.4 for Greg Herbeck. So yeah, Tom's responding. He's keeping about even pace now between them and preventing him from attacking. What happened with Hankins here?
I think I saw that Hankins had gotten back around Jim Walsh, because remember, Jim had made that pass about a handful of laps ago, and that had kind of given him that buffer between the Pro-Am and the Masters driver of Joel Johnson, but now they are back together.
Okay, so Hankins has gotten by him. That means it's 1.2 seconds up to Wilgus. We know Wilgus is very close behind Hanley, so will we see almost a reversal of what we saw early in the race, where Wilgus caught up because Hanley and Hankins were fighting? Now, if Wilgus battles Hanley, Hankins gets to turn the tables.
Wilgus still incredibly close to the back end of Hanley as we watch Tom Rogers, our number 44 Cayman Masters class leader, go out onto the back straightaway. And this is that battle that we were just talking about. So it is Hanley in that black number 243 being followed by the silver and green of Wilgus, this red and black number 295. That is Brandon Hankins. And of course, Jim Walsh, the 4th car, the caboose on the train.
Well, 4 of them so close, especially this late in the race. Less than 10 minutes plus a lap to go. So we're into the final third of this one. When we hop onto these onboards, I have to admit, sometimes it scares me how close they get to those tires.
It was actually interesting watching them drive through turn 2 there. I do remember in these cars, when you're nose to tail through turn 2, you do get a little bit of aero wash through there. So being the trailing car, it is definitely challenging to stay really close behind. You have to start adjusting your driving a little bit to make sure you stay close.
Looks like it was 0.3 quicker on the first sector for Rogers, and another 0.3 quicker in the second sector. So yeah, it was looking very positive for Greg Herbeck, but I start to think that Tom was indeed just kind of managing this race before, since he had such a huge lead. Has turned the wick back up and of course demolished the hopes of those behind.
Speaking of demolishing hopes, I mean, we're working lap number 11 out here, and Scott Blend has, what, a 13-second lead on everybody on the racetrack. That is 1 second or more per lap out here. That's officially demolishing hopes.
And that's after he's run 2 races.
Yeah,
today,
it's so impressive.
which he won both. So yeah, it's like, gosh, let some other people have a chance out there, buddy.
I mean, I got winded coming from the podium back to the broadcast booth, Joe.
And he's also in the Masters class, so I hope to be in that good a shape in my 50s. But Scott Blend, really something to aspire to out here, as with 8 minutes left on the clock, he is still well in control of things.
See about the exit here of turn number 20. Each one of these drivers, I think that they're doing a fine job of limiting their mistakes. Now, it's okay to slide the car a little bit here, slide the car a little bit there, because most likely your competitor probably doing the exact same thing, and that was a close call. Wilgus almost too deep into that brake zone and into the back of Hanley. Thankfully, there was no contact.
This shot from the tower shows you visually how much that cost him. Look at how far back he is and how close, of course, Hankins is to the rear bumper of that 250 car. Little mistakes can have a big effect.
I mentioned little mistakes. Is that called a commentator's curse that it happened in turn one, Joe?
We have it happen all the time up here, so you kind of get used to it after a while. But drivers really wishing maybe we would spend a little less time talking about how good they're doing on track. Hanley, do I dare say, I mean, he's still got the lead here.
Yes, he does. Let's see how well he manages this brake zone. He was very, very wide coming down the hill. This could be that opportunity for Wilgus. And check this out, Ashley. He's right in the slipstream.
Yeah, it's actually pretty interesting to see. Even though he made that mistake, he gained a lot of ground through the high-speed stuff when he had clean air. So I'm wondering if he can get by Daniel, how much pace he actually has.
Ooh, he's got a very good run. He was forced well down to the inside. Oh, that's super shallow. I don't think he's going to make it. He does. A cutback, though, gives a chance for Hanley to try and take this position, but he's on the wrong side of the track, coming down into turn 13. Now they head towards turn 14 and 15, and no, he's got it done. Wilgus, with a very shallow line, somehow makes the corner.
It was all in turn 13. Yeah, he made the move in turn number 12, but was still side by side in 13 and essentially just parked it on the inside of that apex, did not allow his competitor to get back through. So you talk about racecraft, and most of the time it is making that move, but then you also have to know where the other competitor is. Excellent job from Wilgus.
Martin now with the clear road in front of him. Yes, he's behind Glenn, but, I mean, he's so far ahead. I don't think he can even see him on some of the longest straights on this track. And the woes for Hanley are not over. Here comes Hankins with a good shot at trying to take P2 away from him. Forces him to go defensive. Down into turn one, all the way to the inside. Could we see a cutback again?
Let's see, pretty wide from that third car in line, and now he puts the power down, almost door-to-door contact, but I think he is finally through.
My goodness, that was a brave move coming through there, just given just enough space. And Hanley rebounds after it looked like the pace wasn't there. Again, is this the car coming back late in the race for some of these drivers?
That's a good point. And Ashley, you know, it all comes down to car setup and how these drivers really want to handle their cars.
No, absolutely. And talking to these drivers after the races, they are making adjustments while the race is going on. So if your car maybe has a little bit of oversteer on the turn-in, you can make adjustments inside your car while you're racing to sort of change the balance and make your car a little bit better handling. So you can change your ABS settings, you can change your brake bias, there's all sorts of things. And as well as your driving style, you could change your line a little bit, how you're going to throttle, how you're coming off the brake. There's a lot of things that you can do. So it's really cool to see how much shuffling is going on throughout this race, because that means the drivers are adapting to the conditions and to their car.
The drivers have the tools. Yes, these Cup cars are made to be somewhat relatively basic compared to some race cars, but it is still something that you can tweak and tune to your liking out there. And of course, as Ashley said, some of it comes down to just what you do with the wheel and the pedals in front of you. That is still Jim Walsh back there, but the good news for him, he's got 16 seconds, I see, over Johnson. And one of the things that we did talk about was learning the lessons of last race. He was kind of in the way of a battle for position in the other class, and wound up costing him in the end. And this time, he's just kind of hanging back, letting it all happen.
You're right. I think just being a little bit more patient out there on the racetrack, he realizes it's only for class position behind him, the three cars in front of him, not for class position, so no more available points for Jim Walsh out there. But what I am a little bit curious about is look at how closely matched all four of these cars are. I mean, how many times have we seen them all be sitting in different positions? One car leading this group. Usually it's been Hanley, but now it's Wilgus. But Wilgus isn't necessarily running away from Hankins, who's now the second car in train. It almost seems like they're just kind of swapping positions around, but also still so closely matched.
Who is on the attack when? Yeah, exactly. Hankins was the one that led the early race back in race 1 today, and this time he's coming from behind instead to try and see if he can steal that win away. But he lost out because he made contact, and actually I think it was with Jim Walsh as well that he wound up coming together with someone that broke the suspension on the car and had to take a DNF to end the thing out. So he is going to try and learn from that himself, try and make a better move, and this time it could be for the win instead.
And you see some of these cars, specifically Brandon Hankins coming off of turn number 11 there. If you see him straddling those white and red alligator curbs, all he's trying to do is stay on the smooth concrete. Those alligator curbs, they're stepped, and so you actually lose just a tiny bit of traction if you're trying to accelerate over them. He's just simply straddling it and really getting the drive off of the corner.
Looking at the time, it should be 2 to go when Blend crosses the line. And I think he'll be coming up here shortly. I just actually saw our leader in the Caymans go by us just now. So that was kind of interesting. Actually, that was Tom Rogers that just went past our booth, leading Greg Herback, who still remains at about a consistent 9.7 seconds back for the Cayman lead. So that's why we haven't been covering that, because Tom's been basically keeping it within control.
So, Joe, I got to ask you, right, because Jim Walsh was kind of involved in that little bit of an incident in race number 1, and you were able to talk to him. How far do you get through this race before those intrusive thoughts start to creep back in and you say, you know what, yeah, it's not for a class position, but look in front, they're starting to run away. I want to go race with those guys.
Yeah, I'd love to talk to Jim after this race to get his thoughts and see how he feels. We've kind of alluded to it. He's actually heading off for an international race over in Japan in a little bit of time. So that's why he's only doing a partial schedule. That's going to be his focus out there. Very jealous. He was talking about how impressive it is going and experiencing the Japanese culture. Ooh, could we see, like last time, the lap traffic have an effect on this race at the end?
And this is in the exact same part of the racetrack where we saw that incident happen. We got 3 cars through just waiting to see Jim Walsh appear on the other side of that Cayman. But look at this run from Hanley. He was really able to capitalize on that lapped car. He's already making a move down to the inside on Hankins. Let's see if he can outbrake him here into turn number 11. Remember, that's only half of the pass done. We have this hugely long straightaway right after this corner. This could be an over-under opportunity, and it is.
Excuse me, pardon me, coming through once again. Very aggressive here in the latter part of the race. They know this is it for the weekend. If you've got something in you, you might as well unleash it here, as it is a drag race down into the braking zone of turn 11. Who is deeper? It looks like it is going to be Hanley, at least for a brief moment before Hankins comes back.
What a great move to be able to defend that from the inside. I thought that was a big lunge from the outside that could have probably taken him door to door, side by side with his competitor, but I should say Hankins and Hanley still keeping it very, very respectful.
Yeah, love what I'm seeing here, especially after things got a little bit crazy at times there in race number 1 between this trio, all fighting for position. White flag is out just as he laps Greg Herback for Scott Blend to just complete one more lap and make a 3-peat on the day.
It's impressive. You know, I would love to be in a race car for 3 races in a single day, but if you said it had to be in 100-degree Austin, Texas temperature, I would still say yes, but I'm very comfortable here in the AC.
Maybe instead of Ironman, we should call him Glutton for Punishment, because my goodness, yeah, the Scott Blend just seems unfazed by all of this. We'll see if he can flog the car home, though, as he has got himself a 16-second lead.
Yeah, all he's got to do is keep it together for another 3/4 of a lap here at Circuit of the Americas as this battle still rages on. And Ashley, this is go time. What happens when you see that white flag? You know it's 1 lap to go. Time's running out.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. And you can see they're still catching more lap traffic in these difficult interconnected corners. So I'm sure all 3 of these guys are trying to go for the win at this point and will do whatever they can to make it happen.
And Smith is within a second of Herback, too, so podium is not decided in the Caymans. That could be fascinating. And this is their last lap now that they've been caught. In fact, I think Rogers might get a full extra lap around the circuit before we can call him as the winner, even though, of course, it'll be decided. Oh, as we get a bit of an accident once again on the last lap. Was that Hanley or Hankins
That was
off?
Hanley.
Oh.
So unfortunate for that 243 of Daniel Hanley to spin it around coming around at turn number 11. I'm not sure if there was contact, but those cars were awful close.
Yeah, that was right in the mix of the lap traffic as well, so there could definitely be a possibility he may have been tapped or just had to check up there if that lap traffic was just going a hair slower than he expected.
The good news is Krigler had fallen well off of them. Hanley had a huge buffer. As long as the car's moving now, he'll still be able to take a podium finish. It's going to be top of the podium, though, for Scott Blend in 3 races. He still has 2 more to go this weekend, believe it or not. But so far, he's been perfect as he takes the win here in USA West.
Another checkered flag, another trophy for that Ruckus Racing driver. And here we see some of the Caymans cross the line. I believe that this is our battle for what is second back there. Herback finishes second in class with Tim Smith finishing third in that Cayman Masters category. And here comes Mark Wilgus, your 992 Pro-Am winner.
He is going to be so happy about that back-to-back this weekend for the Pro-Am win. But, yeah, Herback had to fight for that one in the end. Smith maybe just coming up a little bit short in the end. Walsh gets his redemption. He's going to take second place in class as Johnson is just coming across the line now to finish on the podium. Hanley eventually getting to cross himself with a bit more distant of a third than he anticipated.
And it's pretty impressive. I was wondering if Scott was going to be able to catch Tom Rogers because when Scott started that last lap, he was just passing second and third in that Cayman class. But Tom was firmly ahead by 13 seconds, so he has got this whole extra lap to do at COTA. Do you think that's good or bad in this situation, in this heat?
Well, I was going to ask you, if you were in his position and they said the leader is taking the white flag, would you slow down and let him through?
No, I wouldn't let him through. But at this point, everybody else is taking the checkered flag. You might as well consider this a cool-down lap.
Certainly. Krigler then finishes his race. DeJesus, and unfortunately looks like he fell back a little bit partly through. We only lost 2 cars in that. Bradshaw and Tartaglione coming into pit lane a little bit early as we wait for DeJesus and Rogers to wrap this one up. There is DeJesus now to the line, last of our 992 Cup cars for the USA West Series, which again are wrapping up with this race. Only a couple of those drivers going to be heading over to the Endurance Challenge Sunday afternoon.
Of course, we're just waiting for this number 44 of Tom Rogers. He should be coming across turn number 20 any moment now, and you see the entire crew getting up onto the wall. They are anxious to celebrate with this driver. Here he comes, your Cayman Masters class winner, the number 44 driver, Tom Rogers.
An extra victory lap for him. Well, that gives us a chance to go through our running order. Scott Blend with an impressive win by nearly 19 seconds as he'll take the Masters class win. Wilgus will take your Pro-Am class win. In fact, there's Scott right now. Brandon Hankins, third overall with Jim Walsh fourth, and then Daniel Hanley, P5. Joel Johnson was in 6th, followed by Mark Krigler in 7th, and Francisco DeJesus was 8th. That takes us to our Caymans. Tom Rogers with the win by a whole lap over Greg Herback, who was 2nd, and Tim Smith in 3rd. Then it's Buffkin, P4, Marshall in 5th. Bradshaw did not finish along with Tartaglione. We're not quite done today. We just have the podium celebrations to go before it is a rest overnight to come back for the 992 Cup cars.
hard to contain your excitement when you get something you've really wanted. Like the gold standard in automotive protection, WeatherTech floor liners. With deep sculpted channels and laser measured for total protection in the front, back, and even up the sides.
Dad, you're going viral.
What? WeatherTech me.
So don't be shy, enjoy. Order your premium American-made products at WeatherTech.com.
Experience the ultimate thrill, Porsche GT Track Day, where passion meets performance on some of North America's most legendary racetracks. Designed exclusively for Porsche owners, this is your chance to unleash the full potential of your vehicle in a motorsport environment. Drive the same circuits as professional racers, on the same weekend as Porsche Sprint Challenge events. Where will your Porsche take you? With limited space, every Porsche GT Track Day ensures a premium, exclusive experience. You'll get nearly 3 hours of track time, starting with reconnaissance laps, progressing through lead-follow sessions, and culminating in exhilarating open laps. Plus, strap in for heart-pounding hot laps with a professional race driver.
I thought I was fast. Didn't resemble anything that I've ever done.
Beyond the track, immerse yourself in VIP hospitality, premium viewing areas, and exclusive paddock access where you can witness Porsche Sprint Challenge teams in action. Spots are limited. Scan the QR code now to reserve your place at Porsche GT Track Day.
All right, it's time for our podium ceremonies here for the USA West Series. We're going to start out with the Cayman Masters, and finishing third today in the number 70, Tim Smith. Finishing P2, driving the number 49, Greg Herbeck. And an impressive performance from the driver of the 44, our winner, Tom Rogers.
All right, Tom. Great job today. First place again. How does it feel to be back on the top step?
Well, it's humbling. Really, thanks to Tatum, who gave me a great car after I made a big mistake on Friday. These guys will always keep me honest in a chaotic first lap for sure, but very fun. It's gratifying. Thank you, Porsche. Wonderful day. Thank you.
So you had a pretty good lead there, though I'm sure you were still driving as hard as possible. What was your mindset throughout the race?
But I don't know. It's always hard to back off. I got fast lap with like 2 or 3 laps to go, so you just keep your foot in it. Try to improve every time, every lap. Something you can learn all day long.
Absolutely. Congratulations.
Now, for the last time today, you'll spray the champagne! Congratulations to our Cayman Masters in the USA West Series here in Porsche Sprint Challenge. That now takes us to the good boy, fastest lap. Tom wants to hang around. It goes to him in the number 44, Tom Rogers. We have the 992 Masters podium finishers. For race number 2, finishing in third, it's the 217 of Joel Johnson. In second, an excellent rebound today for the 269 of Jim Walsh.
I've been walking around.
Winning 3 for 3 in all the races he's participated in today. Our victor is the 245 of Scott Bland.
All right, Scott. Here we are again. Third win of the day. That's really impressive. So what are your thoughts? You're on the top step again.
Well, look, I say this at least once a weekend, but all you mechanics, all the guys wrenching on these cars, especially in these conditions, we love you. We really appreciate you. I appreciate my team a little more, but they just do an amazing job, and they give me that that equipment to go fight with. So, yeah, that's what I got to say. But I can tell you this. I learned I got a lot more rotation towards the end on that race. So, it was just a great race.
So I have a question for you. You've done 3 races today, and it's super hot, really technical, physical track. Do you have any secrets in terms of staying fit so that you can compete and win race after race?
I do work out a lot. I work out every day. I try to work out in the heat, but I have to say, this last one was really, really hot. But you got to eat right. I don't have any terrible habits, so that helps. So yeah, just clean eating and a lot of workout and a lot of water and salt, Himalayan salt.
There you have it, guys. Himalayan salt. Congratulations.
I think you'll enjoy this. You can spray some champagne! Our winners for the 992 Masters category here in the USA West Series. Let's give it up one more time for them. Now it's time for the Yokohama Apex Award. That's going to go to the number 250, Mark Wilgus. Lastly, but not least, it's the 992 Pro-Am podium. Starting with third place in the 243, Daniel Hanley. Finishing P2, driving the 295, Brandon Hakens.
Waiting for you to shine, people passing me by. Does it feel like I belong?
They kept us guessing all the way to the finish on this battle, but your victor was the 250 of Mark Wilgus.
Yeah, I'm heading for the station, I can feel love's real. Now you try.
How's it going? Good to see you up here again. A huge battle between all 3 of you during this race. It was definitely really tight. You were catching lap traffic. A lot was going on. What was going on in your helmet during that race?
Wow. These guys are all driving really well. I mean, these conditions, it's really, really hot out here. And I just want to say, I think the team gave me a little bit better car at the end of the race, and so that allowed me to attack a little bit at the end.
It's awesome. And one other question for you. The heat is obviously a big topic here. How have you been managing the heat this weekend?
Well, funny you asked that. I have a hydration business called Avid Hydration, and Drink Avid is what's been keeping me cool-ish.
Well, that's awesome. Well, congratulations.
One last spray of the champagne this weekend. Congratulations to the 992 Pro-Am finishers here in the USA West Series. Well, that wraps up our coverage for today. More racing action is coming tomorrow morning here at COTA with the North America 992 Cup Series. So tune in.